we talk about the money aspect of this because that's just what it takes to live the life that you want to live, to have the lifestyle that you want to have, right? The other aspect, and what Rachel was talking about when she's talking about these quadrants here, employee, self-employed, business owner, investor, is I can make a whole bunch of money and have no time, or I can make a very little amount of money and have a lot of time. Like I know a lot of people who make no money and they have a whole bunch of time. They're always wanting to go and do something, right? And they want me to pay for them to do it, but you know, they have plenty of time. So it's like, how do we, where's the balance in that? And so what we're talking about here is when you come into Symmetry, we have this basic thing. It's whether it's a lead for mortgage protection, final expense, whether it's family and friends that you know that may need this life insurance product that we're able to sell. We're talking with someone who has a need for our particular product, and we can go out and trade a little bit of time, help them protect their family, $1,000 premium, 60%. So I can sit down with somebody, and Brian, you started out in the field for you all's team, right? Like you were out in the field. The average amount of time that you spent in the home with the client was about how long?
When I'm helping?
When you're helping, when you're sitting down.
Maybe hour and 15 minutes.
So let's call it an hour and a half, all right? And let's say it took you 30 minutes to book that one appointment.
Yeah.
Just, okay, like if you're trying to book 12 appointments over the course of a week, right? And it takes 30 minutes to book one, so I have to call more than one person to book one appointment. So if it takes you 30 minutes to book an appointment, so you spent 6 hours on the phone to book your 12 appointments, so divide that all out. You're with that one family, you sell them, spend an hour and a half in the home, you spent 30 minutes to book that particular appointment. So you made $450 in advance commissions. By the end of the year on that one policy, you'll have made a total of $600 on a starting commission, right? So what did you make per hour by sitting with that family, sitting in that home? $600, you spent 2 hours with them, so you made $300 an hour, right? What other jobs do people work that they make $300 an hour? Actors, lawyers, a surgeon, what else? Bus driver? Bank robber. Oh, okay. That's a great city to live in. Okay, bank robber. So let's leave the illegal ones out. Let's leave the illegal ones out. So we're talking about the legal ones. So there are W-2 positions. There are jobs that you can get that you can make this. And so what I want to break down real quick is what's the expectation when you come in here? If you want to be able to get paid, where you're going to be able to make relative to the time that you're putting in $300 an hour, how does that work? And now, when we're saying $300 an hour, of course, this is just the hours that you're working. For us, we're not going to be working 40 hours a week just doing the personal production side of this. There's other things that we're able to do, and that's where we start talking about building a business. But I know, Brian, you had a construction firm before you got started here, so you had your own small business. So I'm not going to use you as the initial example. I wanted to start with you, Rachel. You came, before you were working here full-time, you were actually working in the corporate office, right? In a W-2 position.
That's correct.
How many of you that are relatively new, you work currently or have worked in W-2 positions? Okay. So most of us understand what that means to work in a W-2 position. Does anybody know? I just learned this here recently, and I forget who told me this, but was it you, Griff, that were talking about this recently? But what W-2 actually stands for?
Week to week.
Was that you, Joe?
No,
Week to week. Like, that's what a W-2 position means, right? You get paid week to week. Maybe you get paid monthly. Maybe you get paid every other week, whatever. But week to week, in the wonderful state of North Carolina, are you assured that your job is going to be there next week? We're an at-will state. If your boss or whoever's in control of your job doesn't want you there next week, they don't have to let you come back in. They don't have to pay you for being there, right? So that W-2 position, like if you don't do certain things, you're not going to keep that position. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
All right. So Rachel, at your W-2 position, let's walk through your schedule. What time did you have to show up at the Symmetry corporate office Monday through Friday in order to keep your job?
9 o'clock.
9 a.m. So 9 a.m. you showed up. What time was your first break? Noon. So 12 p.m. we got a break. How long was that break?
30, but I never took it. I ate at my desk.
Why'd you do? They're not paying you to eat at your desk, Rachel. That's your break. That's your time. Anybody else been in that situation, right? You work for the job and you're supposed to have a break, but what do you keep doing during your break? You keep working, right? But let's say she took that 30-minute break. So 12:30 you start working again. And what time did you get off?
I was 4, but most people are 5 o'clock.
Okay.
It's a 9 to 5.
All right. So 5 p.m. you got off, all right? And so during these times, so you have 3 hours right here. You have, what's that, 4.5 hours right here. So 7.5 hours of actual work. I think that's what most people use. They, 8-hour days, you get 30-minute break. That's what most people used to. During this time, what are a couple of things that you were doing? You don't have to list everything, but what did your boss, your manager, expect you to do during those hours? Just list off a couple of those things.
Report entry, assigning, ordering leads, assigning leads.
And give me one more. That's not how you spell assigning, but
Well,
again.
and follow-up
Yeah.
emails, follow-up emails with agents as well
Emails.
around these orders.
Communications.
Mhm.
All right. Again, that might not be how you spell communication, but whatever.
It may not look like a lot, but it never stops.
Okay, so you had things that you had to do, and you had somebody who you reported to, and to protect the innocent, we won't mention names. We all love her. But you had a manager there, right? And your manager reported to the owners of Symmetry, Brandon, Casey, Brian Pope, all right? So your manager would make sure that you're doing these things during these hours. And what would have happened if during that period of time you were emailing with an old colleague or an old friend from college? If you got caught doing that, what probably would have been the...
This was pretty much the young woman before me, so you get a warning.
Okay, so you get a warning, all right. So you get a warning, you stop doing it that time. 2 weeks later, you're doing it again. What happens then?
They said something to her, and then she didn't know it. They were already looking for her replacement.
Okay, so the second time, they could potentially already be looking for your replacement. What happens the third time, typically?
She was training me and gone.
She was training you, and now you replaced her, all right? Anybody else been in that situation? Like, you're at a W-2 job, they expect you to do certain things. If you get caught not doing those things, you're going to get a reprimand, you're going to get a warning, and then that happens a couple more times, and what are they going to do? Again, at will state. They're going to let you go. Somebody else is going to come in and take your job. And especially today, does anybody know what the unemployment rate in North Carolina is right now? 3.8%, right? So the people who are still looking for a job, do you think they want a job? Like, all the jobs it's filled up. Employers are paying extra these days to find somebody to come work for them, okay? Because there's not that many people out there, but the people that are out there, there's not as many jobs for them to get, right? It's that much more competitive. So to keep my W-2 position, I have to have the times that I'm going to be here. What time did you have to wake up to get to your office at 9 a.m.?
6:30, because I've got a child.
Okay, you got kids, so you're waking up at 6:30, and so, you're doing the things you need to do so that you can get there at 9 o'clock. You get home, you probably had a certain time, like, I got to be in bed by this time so I can wake up at 6:30 so I can be back the next day. What happens if you don't show up to work for maybe 2 or 3 days? And then, so you go in on Monday, you work. Tuesday, you're like, I'm feeling a little tired, so you take off. Then you show back up on Friday, like, hey guys, how you doing? Like, what would have happened in that situation?
You would totally be escorted in and explain that your job doesn't exist.
Okay, yeah, you walk in and like, why are you
You're
here? You don't work here anymore. You haven't been here for 3 days. Am I right? That's the W-2 world, okay? The world we operate in, so that's the employee world right here. The world we operate in as agents, when you come here, if you're looking to get started with us here at Symmetry, and even if you've been here for a while, I want you to understand what it is that you have to now do, okay? I want you to understand what the expectation is. You are now self-employed. As soon as you sign a contract with Symmetry, as soon as you say, I'm going to go out and, take a lead, make a call, go out and sit with a client, you've moved from being a W-2 employee to what's called 1099. And I don't know any fun quips about what 1099 means, but I'm going to work on that. That's going to be the next time I do this presentation. But now you're 1099, and 1099, it's a dual position, okay? When I'm a 1099 employee, all right, I have two positions. I have my employee position, and I also have a manager position. And so when I'm talking to my new agents, Brian and Rachel, I'm having this conversation with them, and I'm going to walk through what I just walked through with Rachel, with any new agent. I'm going to say, let's talk about what your schedule was like at the job you just came to me from. How long did you work there? Anybody here work at a job for more than 2 years? More than 5? More than 10? You knew what you were supposed to do, right? And you did it year after year after year. So that's something that all of us know. We know what we do in our W-2 positions, but then we come here and I don't know what to do, right? So what I'm trying to get you to that point is like, this is just like what you came from. It's not different. Because on the employee side, when you're a 1099 employee, you still have a schedule. And it's even more important now than it was before. Because not only are you the employee, but you're now also your own manager. And that's the scary part. Because you're not scared of yourself.
That's good.
You're not scared of you. You know how to lie to yourself very well, right? You know how to hit the snooze button. You know how to make every excuse that you will believe. You believe your excuses. I promise you do, right? So you're the employee and you're the manager. So here's what the schedule looks like when it comes to Symmetry Financial Group, all right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all right? And I'm going to make this kind of basic. I won't erase that. So Monday morning, still that 9 till about noon. This is where I'm going to be checking on business. Upcoming business, existing business, whatever. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. From about 1 o'clock till about 3 o'clock, I need to learn my business, especially if I'm new. Whenever you started at a new job, did you get paid training? Was there a time that they set you down, they gave you a book to read, or said, go through this website, go through this course? Like, you have those kind of things. The same thing here, all right? So I want you guys, there's still that time that you have to have in here. And then from about 4 until about 10 o'clock at night, I'm seeing clients, all right? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put little duplication marks. The same thing is basically going to be my Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, guess what? In this particular position, I can kind of take it a little bit easy on Wednesday morning because I've had 2 nights where I've been out in the field for quite a little while. So Wednesday morning, I can kind of take a little bit of break. But I know at noon on Wednesday till 2 o'clock, we have some conference calls that I'm going to be on. Wednesday afternoon, after those conference calls, until about 5 o'clock when business shuts down, when the carriers close up their doors, I'm going to be checking on the business that I just wrote the previous 2 days, all right? Making sure my business is getting issued, making sure that I'm calling the clients from the previous day, letting them know what's happening with their policies, letting them know that I still care about them, that, hey, it was great to meet you, here's what's going on, all right? Thursday, if I'm building an agency on Thursday, and we're not going to get into the details of the Thursday schedule, but on Thursday, that's where I have the opportunity and the time to start making calls, to do my recruiting, to call some resumes. If right now, if all I'm doing is production, Thursday can be another one of those great training days. All right, Friday, I come back in here, I got some training that I'm going to be doing around noon till 1:30. After that, after we finish up here, we're pretty much done until about 4 o'clock, 4:30 till about 7:30. I have the ability to make my dials for the next week. And then Saturday morning, 9 a.m. until 12, I have my dials again. Sunday, we're off. And now I'm set up to start my week all over again. And now this is one schedule. But when you started your W-2 position, did you have a manager or a boss sit down and say, here's my schedule for you, here's the plan that I need you to do if you're going to keep your job here? Did they line this up? Did you know when you were supposed to show up, and then when you showed up, what you were supposed to do? It's no different here. Except here, this is your employee schedule. Your manager schedule is making sure you do this right here. Making sure you're holding yourself accountable. Because the only way we can get fired here, the manager still fires you, but the manager fires you because they look at the schedule and say, okay, we're not doing anything. And then they look at the bank account and say, okay, there's no money in the bank account, so guess what? We can't keep doing this symmetry thing. We got to go get a W-2 position somewhere else. And that's how the manager fires the employee here. So does that make sense to everybody? Does that make, like, and again, this is, I'm talking as though, talking to all of us, but this would be the conversation that I'm having based off what Rachel told me she did before. We're going to kind of line that up as well for what she's going to have to do here. And the great thing about it, though, is if you followed your schedule at work, what usually happened? Like if you were the person who showed up early, you stayed a little bit late, you worked during your lunch break, you got all the reports done, like your boss was like, well, I don't have anything else for you to do. Like, we can develop something new, or you know, you're bringing new projects to the boss that, hey, I found a way to save us some money here, or here's some efficiencies. What usually happens when you start doing that kind of stuff? Promotion. Anybody ever got a raise because their performance review was good and they're like, you're doing everything, you're showing up on time, we're gonna give you a raise. Now instead of $9.75, you can make $10 an hour. Woo woo, right? Going to Applebee's this Friday. People get excited about that. Am I wrong?
No.
The way we get our raise here is you have this kind of a schedule, and then you, as your own manager, you actually hold yourself accountable to that. You hold yourself accountable to making sure that during this time where I have scheduled for clients, if I don't have a client appointment on the books, I'm gonna figure out a way to get a client appointment on the book, right? Like if I didn't get enough dials in that week and have my clients, not my appointment after appointment after appointment, then ma'am, I'm gonna have to drive out to some people's houses that I didn't get on the phone and knock on a door or two. I'm not gonna, you didn't have wasted time at your old job. You always felt like you were behind the 8 ball, right? Your manager just kept at it. Your manager didn't like, oh, you've done that, take it easy, go. It's not Google, right? Like you can't go lie in the nap pod, or I think they have nap pods and stuff at Google campus, but like most jobs you don't get to go and lay down and take a nap, or oh, you did all your work right now? Well, how about you just go take a 3-hour lunch today? Like I never had a boss that said that. But if I can do like I would do if I'm working for somebody else here, I get to get those promotions. And our promotions are, I get to move from a 65% to a 70%, from a 75% to an 80%, right? I get to hire my first agents and show them how to do this so that I can slowly work myself out of having to be out in the field 2 days a week. Because the only people who want to listen to you and learn from you as a producer are people who see that you're doing the things that are getting results and that you're making an income, and they're like, hey, how can I get some of that? And if you can attract more of that, then guess what? You don't have to do more of that. That's the cool thing about us. So Rachel, Brian, as you guys are getting started, what I really want you to think about, and I want you to really feel this, is your schedule, what you did in that W-2 position when you were working at Symmetry Corporate. I need you to be able to commit to yourself that kind of activity, that kind of work, that kind of schedule. Is that something that you guys can do? Brian, does it make, I mean, I know you didn't work in a W-2 position before you had your own company, but can you go back to being your own W-2 employee for a period of time until we can work yourself out of that W-2 position and truly move from self-employed to the business owner quadrant?
Absolutely.
All right? And this is the conversation we all, if you haven't had this conversation yet, it's a conversation that you need to be having. If you haven't thought about this for yourself in this business, what does my W-2 schedule look like? And then am I going to be the kind of manager that holds the W-2 me accountable to what needs to be done? If you haven't had that conversation, you need to have that conversation with yourself. Because if not, what do we do if this was your schedule, right? If your calendar looked like this, what are you going to do in that blank space? Are you?
Depends on what papers you're writing.
Even here's what I know about a driven person. A driven person has already filled up their white space before the white space time comes. A driven person doesn't have white space. It's not just blank. They don't, it's like, well, I'll figure out what I need to do. That's not how it works. And a lot of the times when we come into this position from a W-2 position, it's hard to make that adjustment because you didn't have to fill up the white space. Somebody did it for you. And so the freedom that we get is we get to determine what the white space gets filled up with. But if I don't fill it up with the proper things, then I'm not going to get the results that I'm probably looking for. So I really challenge, and this is again, when Brian and Rachel brought this to me, and the reason we have them up there here is because I want you to see this as they shared what they had done before with me, and now we're saying, okay, here's what it's going to have to look like. That schedule that I put up here, that doesn't have to be your schedule. Maybe you're coming in part-time. As you said earlier, you can do this full-time or part-time, but you got to be 100% committed when you're doing it. So maybe it's part-time and that schedule isn't going to work because of your other job that you have. Maybe you have 2, 3, 5 kids, right? And there's something about that schedule that's not going to work with what you have going on in your family life. Whatever that might be, that's why you talk with your mentor, all right? And you say, okay, here's what I have. Let's find the time. Let's make the schedule so that I can be the best manager for myself to get to that place that I need to go, all right? In the quadrants that we have over here, I was thinking about this the other day as well, and I was having a conversation with some of your guys, Griff, the other day, and the employee side for us, that's the self-employed. We're a self-employed person. The manager side that's the person who's running the business. We never really get to talk about the investor side that often, but here's who the investor is for us. Your investor is your mentor. All right? Your investor is the person who's in your upline, your hierarchy. They're going to invest in you, right? The only way that I own stock in some companies, and one of those companies is Tesla, for example. Now, the managers of Tesla, namely Elon Musk, has been doing crazy things here lately. I wish I could call him up and tell him what to do, but I can't do that. I own stock, right? And there's a shareholder meetings that I can go and I can vote at a shareholder meeting and give my advice to the company, but guess what Elon gets to do? Whatever he wants to do, right? He can take my advice or leave it, right? And he's probably leaving my advice. But anyway, but your mentor is still investing in you. They'll give you advice, they'll point you in the general direction, but it's the manager that decides what's going to happen in your business. And it's the employee that's going to do it. You are in both of those roles. So I really encourage you, listen to that investor. They do want to get a return from their investment in you. All right? That's what we get to do in this business. I get to invest, I get to seed my information into other folks, and then hopefully one day get to harvest from planting that seed. All right? And you get to do that same thing. As you build your team, as you've been a good manager to yourself, as you've been a good employee, you can say, here's what I did to get me success, and here's what you can now do. Does that make sense? So any questions about that? Yes, sir. Yeah. All right. So let's go back to the analogy that we're using. Rachel, if you showed up to work 30 minutes late, again, what would happen? What would the manager tell you if you showed up 30 minutes late?
You know, I understand this time, but I need that to not become a habit.
Okay. And then the second time, what would happen?
We're seeing a habit forming, and one more time, and we're going to have to let you go.
And so then the third time, you're going to be let go. So for the reason for that, guys, if you value what you value, what you esteem, is what you're going to actually get a result from, right? If I don't value it, if I don't esteem it, if it's not important to me, then what are the results going to be like? They're not going to be important results. They're going to be, you know, has anybody ever, like, your spouse asks you, and hopefully my wife's not watching, your spouse asks you to do a chore. Wash this, clean that, take this out, or do whatever. But you were in the middle of something that you thought was so much more important. How well did you do that chore or that job? Right? I mean, I can think of a couple times just telling on myself where I need to take out this trash, and I pull the trash out, and it's the leaking bag syndrome, right? And then there's this line of mess, this liquid mess on the floor. But I took the trash bag out, and that's all she asked me to do. She didn't ask me to clean up the leak on the floor, right? I'm in the right? Somebody, come on, somebody help me out. Thank you. Ronnie's with me on that. I didn't, it was a task I didn't want to do. It took me a while to get off the couch. I half, you know what I'm saying, I half whatever, did it, and then left this messy result. And do you think my wife was pleased with that result at the end of that? Of course not. So if I don't esteem getting to the office before 9 o'clock so I can be on the phone at 9 o'clock, and it's a chore for me to do that, what is it going to be like when I'm on the phone with those clients for 3 hours? Do you think I'm going to be excited about talking to them? Do you think they're going to feel that I'm happy to be on the phone and really want to come over and help them? Or am I doing a chore and I feel like I've been bothered? So what do you think the client that I talk to is going to feel? Do you think when I pick up that lead and call that person, say, hey, Billy, I got this lead. You sent this in. You got a $100,000 mortgage. Do you want mortgage protection or not? And it's definitely not going to work. But if that's what I bring, I showed up late. I didn't plan. I didn't prepare, right? Again, going back to the W-2 analogy, if you show up to work with a bad attitude, what does your manager come over and talk to you about? Your attitude. Like, if you don't shape that up, you can go on home, right? Same principles apply here. We think because I don't have this direct boss that I'm 1099, that I'm self-employed, I run my business, that I can show up any which way I want to. But if I do that, if I don't esteem the work that I'm doing, if I don't value the work that I'm doing, if I'm not preparing to bring my best to the work that I'm doing, I'm going to get sloppy, no good results. And then you're going to be out of business in a very short period of time. So we want everyone to understand as you get started here, and if you're talking to your new agents as you're getting them started, if they don't understand these things, all they're going to do is run into trouble here. But if you do understand and you bring that here, to be able to go out and make $300 an hour, right? Not 40 hours a week given, okay? But you're in the field maybe 20 hours in a week, right? So and probably even less. That's including your downtime, right? So if I can go out and do that and make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in a week for my business, and now that's a whole nother conversation. We can talk about business income versus your own personal income, right? But I'm bringing in business income, and I can grow that here, and then show other people how to do that thing. That's how this thing gets bigger and bigger. That's how you go from having an organization where, Brian, you're going out running business, you're getting in there and starting to do some recruiting, and you go from doing $14,000, $15,000, $18,000 in a month to a team doing $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, so on and so forth. But this is where it starts. This is where it starts. If you guys, and again, I'm talking to these two as though they're just getting started. If you guys can take this information and go and actually develop that schedule, all right? You've been here long enough. I want you to go back and write out that schedule, and then come back and talk to me, and we'll go over that, and we'll move some things around, maybe adjust some things, but we can come to a schedule that you guys can commit to, then we can make this thing work. If we can't come to that, then I don't know if we really can work very well together. Is that fair enough?
That seems fair.
Okay. So that's my assignment to the two of you. Go back, take a look at family schedule, like what you have going on with the family. Take a look at your extracurricular activities, like when you're going on vacation and Dollywood and all that good stuff. So have all that stuff together. And then we're also going to look at what can you put in, what time can you put into your business here. What can you do as an employee for yourself that you know that you'll be able to manage well, and let's commit to that, and we can start finding success. All right? Mm-hmm. So that would be my assignment to each of you. If you haven't done that yet, what is your schedule? We used to have this thing called the ASAP planner, and I found one of my old ASAP planners from like 2012 over in my office, but it had Monday through Sunday on the hour. What's that? Are they still okay?
Yeah, I've got mine right here.
Great,
one.
great.
I'm
Okay.
Google, he's still ASAP.
You're Google, you're ASAP. Okay, so I mean I switched to Google because it's on my phone, it's on my computer, it's everywhere. But having something that I know what my schedule looks like during the hours that I'm working, I know what I'm doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing before you're doing it, I promise you what you're going to do during that white space time, it's going to be nothing. Nothing good for your business. All right? So take that time, develop that schedule. That's the fastest way to get to where you don't need a schedule is to be disciplined about having one in the first place. All right?
I would share the incentivization. It's what it was for me. I mean, you can sit there at that desk with somebody else governing your day, and you're going to get a raise maybe every 6 months, and we're talking about 50 cents or $1.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth. Or you're going to come in here and mine this one, and we're the driver of a $50 increase per app, and we get to decide that.
Yeah.
That's, to me, a really exciting thing to be able to get out and know that I'm the driver of that result. I'm not hoping that it was enough to.
Yeah. You know what the schedule is, and you can determine when you're going to hit the numbers you need to get that next raise, that next bump, that next new agent that's going to get you that 10 or 15% override, right? And that all comes from a schedule. Roddy, you had?
I thought it was a good analogy for this 1099 with
I did too. I didn't know he said.
It's for the 1 out of 99 that are able to effectively manage themselves.
There you go.
I thought that too. Exactly what I was thinking.
The one, okay, so
1 out of 99.
for the
1 out of 99 that will effectively govern themselves.
For the live stream folks, Roddy Jessup just threw up an idea, and we'll take a vote on this later. But, so 1099 is for the 1 out of 99 that will effectively do this schedule.
Manage themselves.
That will effectively manage themselves. Okay.
And Everett, I want to add something as far as the schedule goes. I mean, and having a 15-year-old daughter is that you put in your non-negotiables. You have to before you want to. And I think that was the difference for me when I got here. I was used to working week to week, so I would look at my schedule and only look week to week. I think W-2 people look day to day. They have their to-do list. This is what I got to do on Monday.
Yep.
They're not looking ahead of what they're doing. I would imagine now, in your position, you can't afford to just look a couple weeks ahead. You've got to look months down the road for what you have to have scheduled. So if you want success, think about how you're actually looking at that calendar. It's a yearly calendar. It's not a daily calendar.
Yeah.
You start wide and then start to narrow it down.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, and the longer you're in there, for those who, just to repeat that, I mean, you have to, putting in those non-negotiables is key. Like, that's the great thing. I was talking with that agent this morning about, like, it doesn't take 120 hours a week to build a business here at Century Financial Group.
No.
You can spend 120 hours a week trying to build a business here, but you can also do this in 45 or 50, 60 hours. It's still building a business. Like, you do have to put in a little extra oomph, a little extra effort. But if you schedule your 50-hour, 55-hour week effectively, that's all it will take. And then you can have time for those like if my daughter or my son have something I need to be at, I can be there because I've scheduled it. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's a date in my calendar for 2020 already, right? Like, that's how far out we can schedule the success that we're going to have. So take that time. If you're just getting started, you're still golden. Like, you have the ability. If you're brand new, I want this to be something that's refreshing in the sense that, like, you can know exactly what you're supposed to be doing here all the time. It doesn't have to be a surprise. Don't think, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. Don't worry. We can help you get it very specific and very scheduled. Whether you're starting this thing on a part-time basis or a full-time basis, you will know what you need to do. All right? If you take the time and allow us to work with you to get that set up. And if you do those things, you will get the results that we get. The only way that you fail in Symmetry is by not doing the activities needed to get the results that we're supposed to get. That's the way you fail. And unfortunately, most of us, because we've been W-2 employees for most of our life, we're not used to being the one to put that schedule into place. So I encourage you, I urge you, take the time to get that schedule in place. Put it somewhere that you know, if you need to put it down in an actual planner, an ASAP planner, do that, or Franklin Cut. There's so many planners out there, right? Do it that way. If you need to use, I love my Google Calendar.
Me too.
If you want to use, Microsoft has a calendar. I think Apple even. has figured out calendars these days.
You can even color code it, like you're urgent, do not,
I'm
not do
kidding.
that.
I like Apple. Apple people are good. Y'all are okay. Y'all- I have an appreciation for Apple.
I'm a Google.
but have it. All right. If you don't have it, you're just planning to fail. If you have it, that's where you're setting up yourself and setting up a plan for success.